All right, before we get into the video today, let me do something I don't do very often, which is be serious for a second here, and something I probably should do more. But I want to thank each and every one of you who's ever been a part of this channel in any way at all, whether it's just clicking on the videos and watching them, participating in the comment section, whether it's on uploaded videos or the live streams. We have the best comment section in the entire college football community right here on this channel here. I am truly thankful for each and every one of you who has ever been a part of this channel in any way, whether it's, guest appearances on the live shows, calling into the call-in shows, the comment sections, clicking on the videos. I am truly, truly thankful, and I hope all of you have a great Thanksgiving today, a great weekend, a great holiday season. I hope you get to eat you some good food today. Hang out with your family, friends, watch some good football this weekend, and really just enjoy your entire holiday season. So from everyone here at LouTube, which is basically me, I just wanted to say thank you today. It's Thanksgiving. It's something I probably should do more often. I am really thankful for each and every one of you, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Now, let's get on to the video. All right, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And in addition to that as well, speaking of Thanksgiving, I have a list here. It's the top 10 teams according to the good people over at the College Football Playoff Committee. And what are each of these top 10 teams thankful for this holiday season? Today is Thanksgiving, and I said, let's sit down and try to figure out what should each of these teams be thankful for today and during the holiday season. We'll start with number 1 and go down through number 10. Georgia is ranked number 1 in the playoff committee's latest ranking right now. What should Georgia be thankful for? Well, Georgia's got a lot to be thankful for over the last couple of years, back-to-back national titles. Probably the best run in program history, right? Not just the 2 national titles, but really going back to 2017, Georgia's been an 11, 12 plus win a season program, making New Year's Six bowls every single one of those years. Well, either the playoffs, they made the playoffs in 17, New Year's Six bowls in 18, 19, and 20, playoffs again in 21 and 22. Georgia's got a ton to be thankful for, but specifically for this season, what should Georgia be most thankful for? Some people would say maybe Brock Bowers. He's obviously one of Georgia's best players. I think Georgia should be thankful for Mike Bobo, and he's still not getting the credit he deserves. This was a very controversial hire when it was made in the offseason. Kirby Smart elected not to do any type of search, really, for offensive coordinator when it came to replacing Todd Monken. Hiring from within, promoting his buddy, basically Mike Bobo, to offensive coordinator. And it was a risk because had that not worked out, I think Kirby would have been heavily criticized for making that move. You're talking about a program that lost the offensive coordinator and the quarterback off of back-to-back national title teams, Stetson Bennett and Todd Monken, the quarterback and the offensive coordinator during each of those years, 21 and 22, where Georgia won the national title. They both left. You're having to replace an offensive coordinator and a quarterback. Mike Bobo has come in, and the Georgia offense not only has not missed a beat, but I think the argument can be made that this might be the best offense Georgia has ever put on the field. And the numbers are starting to bear that out. Georgia is going to average over 40 points a game for only the second or third time in program history. A ton of total yards. They're in the top 5 or top 10 in almost every single major offensive category. And Carson Beck has stepped in and played like one of the best quarterbacks in the country, really going all the way back to game 1. Carson Beck is yet to have a bad game. And while Carson Beck himself deserves a ton of credit for that, he's extremely gifted. He's a great quarterback. He's going to go on to have an NFL career, whether that's after this year or whether he decides to come back to Georgia for one more year. He deserves a ton of that credit. But Mike Bobo is really the engine that's making this thing run. And like I said, Kirby caught a lot of heat when he promoted Bobo in the offseason. I was kind of 50-50. I didn't knock the hire. I did not like it, but I said it's a big risk, and if we don't average 40 points a game, he needs to be gone. And he's done more than enough this season, I think, to put Georgia in a position where they are right now, which is ranked number 1 in the country in every single poll and ranking, including the playoff ranking. They're undefeated, one of the best offenses in the country. and they're one game away from being the first team in college football history to go 12-0 in 3 straight regular seasons. Georgia should be extremely thankful for Mike Bobo. Let's move on to number 2, Ohio State. What should Ohio State be thankful for this holiday season? Well, Ohio State should be thankful that Ryan Day ain't Lincoln Riley. For a couple of years, Ohio State has struggled on the defensive side of the ball. If you go back and look at the majority of the games Ohio State has lost under Ryan Day, the blame can be squarely placed on the defense. Not that the offense has been perfect, but let's be real. Ohio State has had one of the most electric, dynamic, and explosive offenses in all of college football since the second Ryan Day took over there, and even going back before that under Urban Meyer. But some major defensive letdowns in huge spots have really kept Ohio State from getting where they wanted to go over the last several years, most notably in losses in each of the last 2 seasons to Michigan, and then last year Georgia in the college football playoff game, the Peach Bowl, where the defense just couldn't stop anything in the second half. Ryan Day noticed that as a weakness and a problem, decided he was going to take the defensive side of the ball seriously. He goes out, he brings in Jim Knowles as defensive coordinator actually last season. And in year 2, under Jim Knowles at Ohio State has one of the best defenses in the country. There's no other way to describe it or explain it. I don't care if you're a Michigan fan and you were raised to hate Ohio State or anyone else. If you can't recognize the turnaround that Ohio State has made defensively over the last couple of years, then you're either blind to it because you don't want to see it because you hate Ohio State so much, or you're just football ignorant. Ohio State's defense is playing better right now than we've seen Ohio State's defense play in a long, long time. They're definitely playing better than we've ever seen them play under Ryan Day. Now, the offense has taken a couple of steps backwards, but I still think Ohio State, with the team they're putting on the field this year, is better positioned to win a national title than any of Ryan Day's previous teams. The offense is not as explosive. They don't have a Heisman caliber quarterback in McCord like they had with Stroud or even Justin Fields before that. But the defense is so improved that it's helping to make up that gap they're losing from taking a step back offensively. I don't know that Ohio State will win the national championship this year. They, of course, play Michigan this coming weekend in what is basically a playoff game. But I do think Ohio State is a better team, top to bottom, this season than any team Ryan Day has had at Ohio State, and has a better chance to win it all this year than in any previous year because the defense is just playing lights out. Ohio State fans should be extremely thankful that Ryan Day is not Lincoln Riley. Ryan Day actually does value the defensive side of the ball. Moving on to number 3, and Michigan. This one's pretty obvious to me. Michigan should be thankful for Connor Stalions. Go back and look at what Michigan was doing before they brought Connor Stalions in. They were good to lose 2 or 3 games a year. Ohio State was beating them like a drum year in and year out on a regular basis. The fans hated their head coach, Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh hated Michigan, right? Every single January, Michigan was out, or Harbaugh was out interviewing for NFL jobs. Every single January, Michigan fans were berating Jim Harbaugh for losing to Ohio State and not winning the Big Ten and not making any playoffs and not winning any postseason games. And then in comes Connor Stalions. And now look, back-to-back Big Ten champs, back-to-back wins over Ohio State, back-to-back trips to the college football playoffs. It's pretty obvious to me. If you were going to pinpoint one single thing that Michigan should be extremely thankful for this holiday season, it's Connor effing Stalions. Moving on to number 4, Washington. This one, I had to think about this one for a while. What should Washington be thankful for this holiday season? Well, I got a couple of things. The transfer portal, number 1, in general, and specifically Michael Penix entering the transfer portal. If you go back and look at Washington before they brought Penix in, they were abysmal. This is Penix's second year as the quarterback at Washington. So he was the quarterback there in 22. He's the quarterback now in 23. 2021, the last year Washington fielded a team without Michael Penix, they were 4-8. Just an absolute terrible team. In fact, they were so bad it got their coach fired. So you might could add Kalen DeBoer to this list, too, of things that Washington fans should be thankful for, because they both came in at the same time. A new head coach, Kalen DeBoer, and transfer quarterback Michael Penix, who came in from Indiana. Never really got going at Indiana. Some injuries and just not a good supporting cast around him. He enters the portal. Kalen DeBoer and Washington pick him up, and it's just been 100 miles an hour since then. 4-8 in 2021, the year before they brought in Michael Penix. Since then, 22-2, including, of course, an 11-0 record so far this year. Went over Oregon, a trip to the Pac-12 title game coming up here in about 10 days, and a really, really good shot at making the college football playoff if they can get past Oregon for a second time. Washington should be extremely thankful for the transfer portal, Kalen DeBoer and Michael Penix. Florida State at 5. Unfortunate situation for Florida State. Right now it feels like they've got something to be unthankful for more so than thankful, with the unfortunate injury to their quarterback, Jordan Travis. Just a horrible situation there. We never like to see anybody get injured at all, but to see somebody's kind of premier player. I mean, let's be real. Jordan Travis has been kind of the face of the Florida State program for the last couple of years during this kind of ascension that they've been on under Mike Norvell. Speaking of Mike Norvell, that brings me to what I think Florida State should be thankful for this holiday season. Patient fans. Mike Norvell's start at Florida State did not go well. He came in on the heels of the disaster that was Willie Taggart, didn't have a lot to work with. And Mike Norvell, I think, is one of the most successful cases in all of college football of using the transfer portal to get a team where it needs to be. Lots of teams use the transfer portal, and lots of teams have had success in the transfer portal. But if you look at where Florida State was at when Mike Norvell got there, sort of right before the transfer portal became a thing, and you look at kind of how he's used it over the last 3 or 4 years, it has paid huge dividends every single year. Specifically this year, when you look at people like Keon Coleman coming in from Michigan State. But if it weren't for the patience of Florida State fans, I don't know that Mike Norvell would still be the head coach at Florida State. In today's college football, it's kind of, a win now or you're gone type of mentality at a lot of programs, especially big-time programs like Florida State, who have expectations every single year that sometimes tend to outweigh reality, right? But the administration at Florida State, the fans at Florida State were patient with Mike Norvell. He kind of slowly moved things in the right direction in his first couple of years. And then the second half of last season, it really started to take off. They won a bunch of games in a row to end the season last year, had a ton of momentum, a ton of hype, a ton of media attention heading into this season. And so far, at least, they have lived up to that. They're undefeated. They got a huge win on opening weekend against LSU. They have ran through the entire ACC schedule, including a win on the road at Clemson and a 2-point win on the road at Boston College. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. They're undefeated. They're currently ranked 5th. They've, top 4, top 5. Right now they're 5th. And the reality is, if they win 2 more games, they're going to the college football playoff. It's literally that simple. So Florida State should be extremely grateful this holiday season for patient fans, patient administration. You know what else they should be thankful for? They should be thankful they couldn't afford to leave the ACC last year. If you'd have let Florida State fans have their way, they were leaving the ACC last June or July or whatever it was. Luckily, they didn't do that. Because as good of a season as they're having, I'm not sure it would have gone like that in the SEC, but they're not in the SEC, they're in the ACC, and they should also be thankful for Billy Napier. Florida State is playing on the road this week at in-state rival Florida. Always an interesting game, and of course, unfortunately, because of the Jordan Travis injury, Florida State's having to give a quarterback in Rodemaker the start, doesn't have a ton of experience, and obviously not, Jordan Travis was a Heisman level quarterback. At least that was the hype around him. He wasn't going to win the Heisman, but he was a really, really good quarterback. But Florida State fans should be grateful that Billy Napier doesn't know what the hell he's doing, because if Florida had a coach that did know what they were doing, they might be in a position to knock off Florida State this weekend with a backup quarterback, but probably not going to happen because Billy Napier doesn't know what he's doing, and Florida State fans should be thankful for that. What about Oregon? Oregon, another team, obviously having a great year. All these teams having a great year, these top 10 teams. But what should Oregon be thankful for this holiday season? Well, they should be thankful that the Auburn administration and the Auburn boosters can't get along, are incompetent, and don't know what the hell they're doing, right? Bo Nix spent 3 years at Auburn. The first couple of years under Goose Malzahn, who was he did okay at Auburn. I get it. He wasn't beating Georgia ever. And he was only beating Alabama like every other year, but it just wasn't good enough. The administration, the boosters, the fans, they wanted him gone. Auburn ran him off, and then what happened? You had kind of a clash between the administration and the boosters. The administrations wanted to go one direction. The boosters wanted to go another. The administration won. They brought in Brian Harsin from the absolute middle of nowhere up in the northwest Boise or wherever the hell he was from. Was never a good hire. It was never a good idea. It was never a good fit. It was never going to work, and it didn't work. Bo Nix stuck around for 1 year with Brian Harsin. He could see that, and he got the hell out. Where did he go? He went to Oregon, and he's a remarkable turnaround for Bo Nix at Oregon. We've seen a couple of examples of this. Michael Penix leaving Indiana, going to Washington. Now he's a Heisman-level quarterback. Bo Nix leaving Auburn, going to Oregon. Now he's a Heisman-level quarterback. Penix went to Washington. Did I say Penix went to Oregon? I don't know what I said, but you know what I meant. Anyway, so it's been just a remarkable turnaround in the sort of college career trajectory for Bo Nix, and Oregon fans and Oregon in general ought to be extremely thankful that the Auburn boosters and administration are so dysfunctional and made just a horrific hire in Brian Harsin, firing Goose Malzahn and bringing in Brian Harsin, which of course ran Bo Nix off, which led Bo Nix to where he's at now, which is Oregon, and just putting up ridiculous numbers. Texas, what should Texas be thankful for this holiday season? They're ranked 7th in the most recent college football playoff ranking. A win over Alabama early in the season. A loss to Oklahoma, which looks more disappointing now than it did at the time, since Oklahoma's gone on to lose a couple of games themselves. But Texas in position to make the college football playoffs. They got to win one more game in the regular season and then a Big 12 title game. But if they can go 2-0 in their next 2 games, Texas is most likely headed to the college football playoff for the first time. So what should they be thankful for this holiday season? Well, they should be thankful they're not Texas A&M. Texas has been... look, I love Texas fans. There's a lot of them. They're passionate. They're diehard college football fans. Texas is on the way to the SEC, and I think Texas is going to fit in fine. And I think the fans are going to fit in just fine. But the reality is Texas has been floundering around for 15 years like they don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's been pretty bad, except in comparison to Texas A&M. Texas A&M has made just a series of ridiculous decisions when it comes to head coach, not just hiring Jimbo Fisher, but the contract involved, and now paying him $80 million to leave, and then the hires before that didn't work. The Johnny Manziel, I don't even know what to call the Johnny Manziel thing that went on at Texas A&M, but they've been in the SEC for a little over a decade now. They've never even won their own division, never mind come close to winning the actual SEC itself. And it goes back further than that. Texas A&M hasn't won a conference title at all since 1998. So, yeah, people like to make fun and poke at Texas. They haven't won the Big 12 since, 2009 or whatever it is. Hasn't won a national title since 2005, and people like to poke and needle the Texas fans about that. But you should be thankful that you're not Texas A&M. They haven't won a national title since 1939, pre-World War II, and haven't won any conference title at all since 1998 when they won, I guess that was the Big 12 they were in back then. So Texas having a really, really good year. A lot to be thankful for. Quinn Ewers having a really good year. And it looks like he might be coming back next year, too, which, of course, would give Texas something to be thankful for next season as well. But anyway, Texas should be extremely grateful this holiday season that they have a really, really good shot of making the college football playoff with another couple of wins here to wrap up the regular season and then the Big 12 Conference Championship game, and extremely grateful that they're not Texas A&M. What about Alabama? Alabama is ranked, let's see, what is Alabama ranked? Oh, yeah, 8th. Alabama is 8th. What should Alabama be thankful for this holiday season? well, besides spam, which is what they're eating today on Thanksgiving, what should Alabama fans be thankful for this holiday season? I know. I know. Alabama fans should be thankful that this is the last year of a 4-team playoff. Next year, we move to a 12-team playoff. Now, why would Alabama fans be happy about that? Well, isn't it obvious? They can start making the playoffs again. Once we move to a 12-team playoff, Alabama will be much more likely to actually get into the postseason. Something they were unable to do last year and something they are struggling to do this year. And it doesn't look like they're going to make it. They're going to come up just a little bit short. A loss by double digits at home to Texas to start the season, and a loss to Georgia in the SEC championship game to end the season is going to keep Alabama out of the 4-team playoff for the second year in a row, which is terrible. But they should be extremely thankful that the good people that are running college football these days have seen fit to expand the college football playoffs from 4 teams to 12 starting next season, which means even with a couple of losses, which is like clockwork at Alabama these days, you might still be able to get in to the playoffs. That's what you should be thankful for this holiday season if you're an Alabama man. Missouri at number 9. What should Missouri be thankful for this holiday season? Well, Missouri should just be happy people are paying attention to them. They should be extremely thankful that they don't have a 500 record. Missouri has been floundering around at the 500 mark since pre-COVID, really. You got Eli Drinkets in there at head coach, and all it's like 5-5, 6-6, bowl game 6-7 or 7-6, whatever. It's just right at 500 year in and year out. And that's really the worst place to be, isn't it? Especially if you're a fan, isn't that the worst? Because it's not like the fall off the cliff season, Your team goes 2-10, 3-9, 4-8. It's real easy to go, God, we got to get rid of this coaching staff. We got to make some serious changes, fire everybody, right? Or if you're winning, if you're going 10-2, 9-3, 11-1, whatever, coming close to conference championship games or close to making playoffs or whatever, then you can say, all right, I like where we're at. Just another one little tweak here, tweak there. It's that middle ground, I think, that's the most frustrating, right? 6-6, 7-5, 8-4. You're like, you're never really happy. But then you're always in that position where you go, well, God, if we get rid of this guy, what if we bring in a Brian Harsin? Or what if we bring in somebody that doesn't, can't win a game? So it's weird. So Missouri, right around that 500 mark for 3 years straight this year. And look, no one talks about Missouri. I can tell you that now. They've been in the SEC for a decade. Texas A&M's probably been worse than Missouri, but for whatever reason, more people talk about Texas A&M. I'm not knocking Missouri. I'm just giving you the reality of the situation. I've been doing this a long time. I talk to fans from coast to coast. It is extremely rare that someone calls in or leaves a comment or asks a question or anything about Missouri. It's kind of just almost like a out of sight, out of mind type of deal. But this year, people are talking about him. He had a good win against Kansas State. He had a great game against LSU where they came up a little bit short. And they had that game late in the year on the road at Georgia where it was basically 2 top 10 teams going at it. Again, they came up short there. But people are paying attention to Missouri. People are talking about Missouri. They've got one of the best. Luther Burden's what? At worst, a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in the country. So they've got some playmakers. Things looking up for Missouri, and they should be thankful that people are talking about them and paying attention to them because that's not always the case. And rounding out the top 10, we've got Louisville. Louisville probably not going to make the college football playoff, even if they win out, although there is a possibility. They're sitting at just the one loss. They play Kentucky this weekend, and then they play Florida State next weekend in the ACC championship game. They are kind of on the outside looking in, but still, one of the best years, well, probably the best year Louisville has had. This is a better year they had than any year under Lamar Jackson. That's hard to believe. Now, I don't think they have anybody on their team the caliber of a Lamar Jackson. And Plummer, Jake Plummer, is that his name? He's played well at quarterback this year. He's not Lamar Jackson. But clearly they're just a better overall team than they were under Lamar Jackson. What should Louisville be thankful for this holiday season? Well, 2 things. Number 1, Jeff Brom, right? Kind of a homecoming type deal. They get Jeff Brom from Purdue, come down, immediate turnaround at Louisville. They're 10-1. So obviously thankful for Jeff Brom. But more importantly, They should be thankful that the ACC is not the Big Ten. Right, Jeff Brom? Jeff Brom wasted away in mediocrity in the Big Ten at Purdue. Yeah, he won the Big Ten West a few times. That's like being the world's tallest midget. It's not even really something you are comfortable bragging about. I mean, no team from the Big Ten West has ever won the Big Ten title game. You get a lot of people that talk about the SEC East versus the SEC West or whatever the case. Plenty of SEC East teams have won the Big Ten or the SEC championship game. I mean, Georgia's won it multiple times. Florida's won it multiple times. Tennessee's won it way back in 1998. Anyway, the point is the Big Ten West is just absolutely horrendous. So the whole thing, well, Purdue won the Big Ten. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It's just a sacrificial lamb to the East in the Big Ten championship game. So Louisville fans should be extremely grateful that the ACC is not the Big Ten, because you can go get Jeff Brom, bring him in, and immediately he's one of the best coaches and one of the best teams in the ACC. Again, Louisville sitting at 10-1 with just one game to go. The in-state rivalry game this weekend against Kentucky, and Louisville's about a touchdown favorite in that one and should win it. Kentucky's not been good this year at all. In fact, I think Louisville probably will win that game and finish the regular season 11-1, which is absolutely unbelievable. And I think they've got a shot against Florida State. I mean, people have written Louisville off, myself included, going all the way back to the offseason. Louisville actually had some hype this offseason. Now, a lot of the hype revolved around, well, we got Jeff Brom, he's a Louisville guy, blah, 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 blah. That and the schedule. When you looked at Louisville's schedule, all of the teams that we thought were going to be the best teams in the ACC, Louisville did not have to play them during the regular season. Now, some of that ended up not being true, right? Clemson is 8th in the ACC. So the fact that Louisville didn't have to play Clemson, not as big of a deal as it looked like it was going to be in the offseason, right? So they're 11-1. They're one game away, or they're 10-1. They're one game away from 11-1. They've already clinched a spot in the ACC title game. And look, I say this all the time. If you make it to a title game, you got a chance to win it, unless you're a Big Ten West team. Anybody else, you got a chance to win it. So we'll see. It's been a great season for Louisville, but they should be extremely thankful that the ACC ain't the Big Ten. All right, there you go. The top 10 teams and what they should be thankful for this holiday season. Feel free to leave some comments down below. Other teams that, outside of the top 10, maybe what team are you a fan of? What should your team be thankful for this holiday season? Or even within the top 10, the ones I already did. Let me know what else those teams should be thankful for. And again, and I mean this, I really hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, a great Thanksgiving weekend, and a great holiday season. I am extremely thankful for each and every one of you that's ever watched or clicked on an Uncle Lou video. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I wake up every single morning and I can't believe how lucky I am that somehow I've been able to turn this silly ass show into a way to make a living. And you guys are to thank for that. So again, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Have a good morning.